I'm live here from Dublin, live and exclusive with Shawnee Lawson from the LFC Day Trippers with Dami, who's a Chelsea fan, and Jimmy as well, who's another Chelsea fan. So today it's just going to be obviously a preview on Liverpool and Chelsea. Anyone tuning in, me and Shawnee are not living in the same house. I'm sure Shawnee's in a more upgraded crib on the south side of Dublin than I am. But yeah, thanks for coming on, lads. It's a pleasure. And look, I'm really looking forward to this game. I suppose it's a 5:30 kickoff, something that the fans crave. I think Anfield not having fans for it. I seen something last week, 530 something days. I know Shawnee was at the game at Anfield, and I think last week's game was certainly for a 12:30 kickoff against Burnley. A huge atmosphere, really great. But I think that's a warm up to what's to come, to be honest with you. As I said, 5:30 kickoff, Liverpool, Chelsea. It's more or less top of the table. I know West Ham won the night, but West Ham Warriors not going to be title contenders. It's 2 wins out of 2. Liverpool have scored 5, haven't conceded. Chelsea have scored 5, haven't conceded. So it's a game set up, isn't it? In many ways, as we love the beautiful game, this could be a beautiful one. Having saying all that, it could be 0-0, and it's more. It could be set up that way. Story Dash, big shout out there to Luke Cannon. So we'll start off, Shawnee. What's your thoughts on tomorrow's game? And obviously Chelsea come to town. You were at Anfield last week, so it was great to see you getting there. And it was the first time fans were back for a big competitive game. What's your preview and thoughts on tomorrow's big game?
Yeah, this is the first real acid test of the season for Liverpool, because before the ball was kicked this year, Liverpool were largely written off in the press by the powers that be, kind of understandably so, because after last year, what happened with the injuries and that, we were kind of out of the picture, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I really like the business that Chelsea have done this summer. I know they've only got Lukaku in, but they're looking to get Koundé in now, exactly, and that would make them more or less the complete package, I believe, because Tuchel is a coach that I really rated even before he went to Chelsea, and I thought it was a brilliant appointment by Chelsea last year, and it proved so, because they go on and have a really, they were strong enough in the league. They tailed off towards the back end, but I think you could kind of understand there was one eye on the Champions League final, and he goes and gets the job done. So Chelsea looked the complete package. I would have said before this season starts that you're going to need somewhere within 90 to 95 points to win this title this year. And I think Chelsea are definitely a squad capable of doing those sort of numbers. And tomorrow is a massive test, because, look, they came to Anfield last year and they turned us over, but it's not the same. Anfield is not the same. An empty Anfield is not the same. There'll be 60,000 there tomorrow, and they'll be at full voice. And then you need to remember, Liverpool have the spine of that team back. They have that Van Dijk, Matip, Alisson axis back, and they'll have Fabinho shielding in front of them. So it proves to be a real blockbuster encounter. I know they're building up this Lukaku Van Dijk thing, but I get the feeling Lukaku is not going to go near Van Dijk tomorrow. He's going to be playing on Matip's side. That's the way I see it. I don't think he's going to be. He's not going to sit on Van Dijk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. I agree in some sense there. Yeah, I do think so. And a stat going into this game as well, Shawnee, interesting nothing for the two Chelsea lads. Chelsea have won 599 Premier League games and can become the second club after United to win 600. So that's a record that they're going to want to come to town and do it. I know last season they beat us 1-0 at Anfield. Wasn't very one-sided. I know Werner gets the goal that's offside or disallowed. And look, they at the time obviously players at a very good time. It was the first time since the 50s we lost 6 home league games in a row. We didn't score. I think we got 1 goal and it was a Salah penalty against City. So yeah, it's in true encounter, no doubt about it. Dami, on to you. Your thoughts. Obviously, big Chelsea fan, big up to you as well. And thanks for coming on, bro. You're going to be advocating for Chelsea, obviously, to come get that 600 win, come and win again at Anfield. What's your thoughts coming into tomorrow's game?
I like the confidence in Van Dijk. I love the confidence. I love it right there. I can tell you that. Listen, Lukaku, yeah, he's going to spin him. I promise you right now. He's going to spin him live in 4K. We're going to witness it live in 4K. Van Dijk is going to see him and he's going to be like, I
don't think you don't understand what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if Lukaku is smart, he plays on Matip's side. He doesn't pin Van Dijk.
And if Van Dijk is smart, he'd hide behind Matip, because Lukaku is coming for blood. He's coming for blood. This is a Van Dijk. He's obviously, I'm obviously, like, all jokes aside, I believe Van Dijk is probably the best defensive is probably the best defender in the Premier League at the moment. You know, I'm coming from. Obviously, he had that unfortunate injury that put him out for long periods of last season. But this is a player that, I mean, I said it on my stream and some of the other channels I've been on, like the Big Six and whatever. And I said, I feel like if there's anybody that could probably match up to Lukaku in the Premier League, the only defender who's physically imposing enough potentially would be a Virgil van Dijk. But this isn't a fully baked Van Dijk. Do you know what I'm saying? Van Dijk isn't fully, he's not ready to come out the oven. Do you know what I'm coming?
Would he not be better to target Matip then?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, so that, but my point is like, this is not a fully baked Virgil van Dijk. Do you know I'm coming from? I don't feel like he's fully ready to come up against the beast that is Lukaku. Do you know I'm coming from? That's what I'm sort of seeing at the moment. But on the real though, like on the more serious note, like I genuinely do feel like this is going to be quite an interesting game. Obviously, it's going to be an interesting battle between those two for sure. And one thing about Lukaku is that you can't leave one central defender on him. That just doesn't work. He didn't work in Italy. When he played for United, it couldn't work either. And I can promise you that Matip can't hold him on his own. That's for sure. So you're going to have to get both of your centre backs on him. But one thing that definitely brings up as well is that allows the likes of Mason Mount or Kai Havertz or whoever is going to run in behind to occupy all those multiple spaces in between the lines. So it's going to be quite an interesting matchup tomorrow. But like you rightfully said, we're going for that 600th win. You know, I'm coming from. We could do it at Anfield. I've got tickets to go to the game myself. I'm going to be watching that one live when we take it lovely and everything. Like you said, it's all beautifully laid out at the moment.
Yeah.
You've got two teams who've come out the gates. They've both scored quite a serious number of goals. Both are advocating for the Premier League title this season. Obviously, Liverpool, I feel like you guys need a few adjustments because squad depth-wise, I believe you have one of the best starting 11s in the league. But when it comes to depth, you don't really have too much of that. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's nice and important for us to have two of the bigger dogs in the Premier League going at it very early because it sets the pace for who is actually going for this Premier League title later on in the season.
Yeah, no, totally agree, Damien. It's a good point. I think look, Chelsea coming to town, they're going to be confident, and rightly so, you know what I mean? European Cup winners as well. I know at the end last season in the league, I know the form dipped a bit, and as Shani said, it might be something to do with obviously going for that European Cup, lost in the FA Cup final and that. But look, I don't want to touch too much on last season because I think obviously this is a new season. Both teams are going in with more or less fully fit squads, have a host of options to go from, and there's going to be, do you start Chilwell instead of Alonso? Because it's going to be obviously tough with Trent and Salah, you know what I mean, on that right side. So there's loads of different things like that. But it's a fair point, Amy, and obviously well appreciated. And Lukaku, definitely a game changer. I mean, he's 28 now, very Premier League experience, been at Everton, United, done it, back at Chelsea, goes to Inter, wins Serie A, no doubt about it, very experienced internationally as well. I think he's probably, is he just under 100 appearances for Belgium? I think he might have 95 or something like that.
The national team's leading scorer. Don't get me wrong, the fella is an animal. He is an animal, but I think when you see with these big build-ups to these games, Darren, it's always the supporting cast who makes the difference. So like Danny said there, I'd be more mindful of a Havertz who can occupy them spaces, you know what I mean? Because that's exactly what Tuchel will be trying to be doing. He'll be trying to bring those players in who can affect the game outside from those type of areas, because Mason Mount caused havoc at Anfield last year because he's those type of players. You don't know whether they're going to be playing wide or playing centrally. Your centre halves have to worry about who's screening him. Is the fullback screening him? Is the whole midfielder screening him? So there's so many interesting matchups in this game tomorrow because you have the likes of Chilwell and Reece James who like to go forward as well, but then you have Robertson and Trent on the other end who they're going to need to be watching them. So it's a real, like, this should be a Super Sunday game, if you get me. This should have been the fourth Super Sunday game of the season, but I absolutely can't wait for it.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you, Shani. It's definitely an true counter blockbuster, as you said. Jimmy, I hope all's well, mate. Obviously, I'm seeing you earlier on, so it's always good to see your face around, buddy. Your thoughts, obviously a Chelsea fan, advocating no doubt about for Chelsea to win. What's your thoughts on tomorrow's game? I think I've seen a stat coming into it. Chelsea have had the least shots against them, 10 shots so far, and obviously the two games against Palace and Arsenal. Liverpool have had the most shots, 46 in 2 games. So it doesn't mean a lot though, you know. But as I said just before I went on to Shani, both have scored 5, haven't conceded, and obviously both going to be confident going into tomorrow's game. But what's your thoughts on it, mate?
Well, I'm certainly buzzing for the game. I can't wait. I think it's absolutely beautifully poised. You have, like you said, 5 goals. Both teams score 5 goals, conceded nothing. Set up. There's so many intriguing different matchups you need to look at. the selection dilemmas up front. I know we just mentioned maybe Havertz is going to play. I don't think he will, but sure, look, that just goes to show the embarrassment of riches Chelsea have. I do think one interesting thing that, referring back to last year's game at Anfield, Chelsea obviously we're lucky we got the win that day, and it only took a moment of magic from Mount to do that. But I do think if you go back to that game, Werner was crucial, and I do think that's what Tuchel will rely on again this year.
Yeah.
Like you said, Shawnee, you were saying that you think that Lukaku might match up to Matip. I'm not sure if he will. I think Werner likes that left inside channel, and I can see him kind of going with sort of like a 2 up front with Mount in behind. Liverpool's fullbacks are obviously brilliant going forward, but I do think that is one area he might look to exploit tomorrow. Obviously, with being Anfield back to full capacity, Chelsea are in town. I'm sure the Liverpool fans would be buzzing for this one. So,
and rightly so. Yeah,
rightly so. But I think that in some sense that is a blessing in disguise for Chelsea. There'll be a lot of pressure on the team to kind of get up the pitch, to squeeze Chelsea, to put that, to go for it, press them high. But then again, that's how Tuchel won the Champions League. If you look at that goal in the Champions League final, counter-attack is Chelsea's A game, and I do think he's going to look to exploit that again. But then again, you never know. Havertz might play. I might be way off the mark.
And I suppose even looking at that's a Chelsea attack, loads of options. But Salah, to me, looks like a player now at the moment, loving football. It's so cool. I've never seen him pass to Mane as much in those 2 games they did of all ever since he's been there. They've obviously had great interaction and link-up play. And I seen a stat coming in that Salah is on 98 Premier League goals. Only Henry, Shearer, Kane, I think it was Aguero, got there quicker than him. So look, I mean, obviously he was once at Blue as well. He was playing at Chelsea, went to Basel, does a thing. But he's come in and been a flying form and started off the season very sharp. I think Mane looks more like himself as well, that hunger, that aggression, more lively, a bit more spark, creativity up front. And then Jota, look, he's getting the goals, isn't he? I've always said about Jota, he's missed 3 months of football last season. He's come off the bench more than he started, and he was unbelievable. He's been a revolution for us since he's being there. And then it's a game as well where people say start Firmino. Personally, I'd go with Jota, because I think it's a type of game where you can't afford to miss 2 or 3 chances up the top end. You need to be at it, and especially against Chelsea, with how good the Chelsea are defensively. What would you think, Shawnee, would in regards to tomorrow and with Liverpool's attack against Chelsea's attack? And I mean, look, it's both front threes are unbelievable, aren't they? Quite different as well.
Yeah, just on that, I think you'll go with Firmino, because in the big games, ball retention is key, especially when you're playing against a team like Chelsea. And like Jimmy said there, you can't afford to be turning the ball over much against some side like Chelsea, because they're absolutely lethal in transition. So I reckon that's where he might look to bring Firmino in, to kind of hold up the ball more or less, to create the space for Mo and Mane to get in behind. Because I don't know whether the lads agree or not, none of the current proper Chelsea centre-back, none of them really inspire me. I think each one of them have a mistake, a rick in them. I don't think there's a natural leader between the back 3 there that they use. I like
Thiago Silva.
Yeah, Thiago Silva. Has he played? He
hasn't played this season,
no.
I feel like, not this season, but I feel like he was quite instrumental to us conceding the least amount of goals in the Premier League after 2 years. So I wouldn't write that off too much.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be throwing him back in straight away in a game like this at Anfield. Getting pressed. This is the whole reason why they're bringing in Koundé. This is what Chelsea do better than anyone. Chelsea are probably the best club in the world at actually just rectifying their issues straight away, and I think that's what Koundé will do. Someone who's rapid in behind as well, carry the ball great with the ball. So there's so many interesting matchups. For me, tomorrow the game be won in midfield. It depends what happens. The big games are always won in midfield, so it depends what sort of approach Klopp takes. But I think he might look at Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson there in the middle, more of an engine room. And then I think a big thing for Chelsea will be is that if N'Golo Kante is fit and ready to go, because to be honest with you, I think he's the greatest player in the history of the game to ever play that position for me.
Yeah, very good, John. I think last week they played Jorginho, Kovacic, and Mason Mount, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Midfield, it might have been.
they're playing Arsenal
yeah,
nothing in the midfield. They
yeah.
knew themselves that they were never going to be overpowered in midfield, and you can throw Kante on, but Kante in from the first whistle will be vital
He'd be
for Chelsea
crucial, yeah.
outfield. Because the big
Yeah.
away games, that's exactly where you want them. Because that's what he is. He's a big
Yeah,
game
and
player.
the experience of him, he's a big game player, as you said, one of the best in the business, if not the best in that position. I know, like, there's talk of Fabinho and that, but look, I mean, as I said, coming into this, the good thing about this stream today is that the Liverpool fans are obviously confident than Chelsea fans, and you love to see, you know, none of us are being pessimistic coming into this. It doesn't give us much reason to be, especially when you look at, I suppose you can look at the end of last season and the first couple of games this season so far too. This for me is probably the biggest game at Anfield since City in November 19. We went 8 points clear. We beat them 3-1. We really turned up that day with intensity. We were just motivated. We'd energy. We just everything about us, and we were just crisp, sharp that day. And we really, man for man, stood up. The City went at them. They didn't like it. I know there was a handball on Trent. We go down to the other end, we score. It was a really, really fascinating game, and it went on to be crucial. And I think something Liverpool have learned, and obviously Chelsea would have in their time as well going for the title, that you just can't slip up. These are the type of games that you need those 90-odd points. Every game matters. Losing those 2 points or losing some. There was times before when you look at United, the great United teams, obviously over 10 years ago, that they'd sometimes, that was a great point we got, all right, we lost that, but we still played them at home. We knocked heads up and down the road. I think with so many of the teams now, and especially this season, United strengthening, City, Chelsea, Liverpool, going to obviously want to come back, and they had the factors last season, genuine factors why they weren't there. There's no room for error, is there at all? Dammy, left full tomorrow is going to be fascinating position, I think, for Chelsea and for Liverpool. Tsimikas has come in for Liverpool, done well enough for very little experience he's had in the red shirt. We know he's not an Andy Robertson. I think with Robertson being the bench against Burnley, that's big indication to me that he starts, because I think he's unbelievable at what he does there. And I know Tsimikas has been great, but he's proven, he's tried, he's tested there, Robbo. And also for Chelsea, you have Alonso there, the fullback, and you have Chilwell. I would probably say Chelsea might go with Chilwell. What's your thoughts there with the two positions, and who do you expect will line up at left full for Liverpool and for Chelsea?
You mean, so the left wing positions for Chelsea,
Yeah.
left wing back positions that we're talking about? I feel like, do you know what it is? I feel like Alonso starts because, I mean, he gives you that serious end product going forward. You know, coming from, I tell people when it comes to going forward, he can run. Do you know what I'm saying? He can run. He moves like a BMW 3 Series. You know, I'm coming from fresh off the block. When he's going backwards like a Fiat Punto, there's no going back. You know, I'm coming from him very slowly. He's not operating by any stretch of imagination. So I'm expecting Tuchel, because when it comes to fullbacks, you guys have sort of, I'm going to be honest, Liverpool have sort of set the standard for the quality of fullback required to operate in the Premier League. Robertson and Trent on the other side, you know, coming from very dynamic fullbacks. They're very good at taking advantage of the width across the sides of the pitch. So for me, it's going to be quite interesting. So I'm expecting to see like a Ben Chilwell on the left and a Reece James on the right. And I'm also going to be expecting Azpilicueta to sort of support Reece James playing that right wing back position, because Reece James, as good as I believe he is, you know, I'm coming from, obviously sometimes people bring up the debate of Trent, Reece James. I feel like they're very different fullbacks, you know, I'm coming from. So I feel like he's going to need a bit more defensive support, and I feel that's what Azpilicueta sort of brings onto the table. Do you know what I'm saying? So you guys say he's going to probably be one in that midfield position. I definitely agree with that. But then I also feel that on the flanks, if you guys can't really get your game flowing from the flanks, and like you said, Robertson is just coming in. You know what I'm saying? He was on the bench for the previous game. Not like he should be too much of a problem, because he's quite a flexible player. But that's going to be a very interesting position as well. And because like I keep saying to people, especially for Chelsea, this season, we want a title with big ears again. Do you know what I mean? The Premier League, the Champions League was lovely last year. We need to win either Premier League or UCL this season. And we've got quite a lot of tough games. Obviously, Arsenal, tough game. That's funny. Anyways, Arsenal, we sorted Arsenal out. Now we've got Liverpool as well. And I know Liverpool want to win in major trophy this year. FA Cup, that'd be nice. League Cup, that'd be nice. But UCL or whatever. So this game sets the tempo for the season. It genuinely does. I know it's only game 3, but it's going to be quite interesting to see how Chelsea sort of line up as well. And like, just to finish off as well, for the forward situation, it could be quite interesting, because obviously Chelsea could go with the Lukaku, Mount and Havertz combination we had against Arsenal. But then again, Liverpool, they play a bit of a higher line, and that's Timo Werner's bread and butter. Whether I can actually finish, I have no idea. You know, I'm going to hope that he goes there and he finishes and he doesn't put the ball in row Z or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm curious to see how Tuchel sort of goes with that one. I wouldn't be surprised to see like Werner, Lukaku, maybe Mason Mount or Kai Havertz in the pocket behind the space. So it's going to be interesting, especially on the wings. It's going to be quite an interesting game to see.
Did you say we're going to the game, Dammy, tomorrow? You have a ticket? You just on mute there. I couldn't hear him.
Oh, sorry. I muted
sorry.
Matt. Yeah. Basically, I've got a pair of tickets. I'm supposed to be heading off to the game tomorrow. As long as things go according to plan. So yeah, get to watch it.
Well, best of luck with that game. Best of luck with going. It's great to hear that you're going. And I know Shawnee was over there last week. Shawnee, what was it like over there last week? Buzzing, I'd say. Was it? It was
like Christmas. Everyone was just buzzing, man. It was just so good to have football back in, because we've been starved of it for 2 years. Look, let's be honest. Not to detract from anything that was won without fans or anything like that, but it's just not the same. You know what I mean? It was unbelievable to be in a crowd of 55,000 again and hearing the songs and that piped in crowd noise from Sky and BT and that bullshit. It was nice, and it was nice to just feel alive again. So we're slowly getting back to the game that we love. Nature is healing, and let's hope tomorrow is the force. It's a real advertisement for the Premier League tomorrow. Don't make no bounds about it.
Yeah, I think so. Two brilliant managers, very experienced and everything. Jimmy, touching on the fullbacks there, do you agree with Dammy there? Do you expect Alonso, or are you more in the Chilwell camp? I think I might know the answer to this.
I'd be worried if it was Alonso, to be honest. Just given the form that Salah's in at the moment, and watching him play against Burnley and Norwich, he just looked really silky on the ball inside the box. And I could just see, I can envisage Alonso sticking out a stray right leg, tripping him and giving away the penalty. So I'd be very worried if it was Alonso. Obviously, Alonso's played now. He's played the last 2 games. He played the Super Cup game as well. But I do see Chilwell come back in for this one. It's too big of a game not to. Alonso obviously had an early pre-season. He's playing well, but I just think we really need someone more reliable and someone more movable. Alonso's very slow, and like Dammy, you're saying about Alonso, what he gives to you going forward, I don't think you miss much from Chilwell in that regard either. He's very good on the ball, and he's very good. He's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think.
Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead, Dammy. Sorry for disturbing you, go ahead.
Oh no. I was just going to sort of just like, because you're right. I was just trying to say that Alonso's only thing is good because Chilwell is also quite. Look, one thing I love about Chilwell as well is like, I feel like I wouldn't say he's as good as Alonso going forward, but I feel like he's the complete package because defensively he's quite solid as well, and he's quite rapid up and down. He can put in a better cross than Alonso as well. I just feel like Alonso is clutch. Do you know what I mean? Alonso comes up in the 93rd minute when the football has been boring, nothing has happened, and he gets you a goal out of nowhere. I don't think I'm trying to see that tomorrow at Anfield. You know what I mean? Because we need to play proper football to actually beat them. So I feel like you said, Chilwell is very good at being at the very far post. Reece James putting in those beautiful crosses if he gets the opportunity to. Those second balls that fall to Chilwell, he scored quite a lot of goals for Chelsea like that last season. So definitely going forward, he's no slacker. But I was just trying to say that. Alonso moving forward, that's all he does well. Defensively, like you said, he can put a leg in there, get a red card. Salah's going to have a field there on the left. So
Yeah, I agree. I think going against Salah, maybe Chilwell would be the more composed. Shout out there to Greg Duff. Happy birthday today to Greg. He's 50, so I can't call him Baby G anymore. So
happy birthday, Greg.
Happy birthday, Duffer.
I hope you're calling me a fucking baby at 49.
Well, Johnny, you'll always look young, brother. You know, you're the handsome man of YouTube, so we can't take that away from you. So obviously, it was Rafa against Jose, Liverpool, Chelsea all over the years. The games were not always the best, but they were electric, they were atmosphere, they were intensity, the energy. Not always, for us in the league, it wasn't great. Champions League, we got more success in. Is it going to go back to those, do you think, where it's Liverpool and Chelsea, and it's not just what it's been the last couple of seasons, Liverpool and City, Shawnee? Because obviously what Chelsea are doing there, and as you said, they are very cutthroat, and they do the best at when they need something, they just go and get it. Lampard comes in, he's a club legend. I know there was big rift in the fan base as to whether he should have been sacked or whatever happened, but it turns out then Chelsea go on, FA Cup final, get into the top 4, win a Champions League. What do you make then of this now? Is it going to be Liverpool and Chelsea? And look, there's no doubt about it. I know we had factors last season, but Liverpool will be back, and it's not going to be like anywhere near it was last season.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you said there, it just goes to show you what happens when you're indecisive, because United are actually in a very similar position that Chelsea were in terms of Ole and Lampard. But Roman doesn't care. Roman hasn't got time for sentiment. He was cutthroat. He did what he had to do. He saw a perfect opportunity to bring in Tuchel, who had just been let go from PSG, and he didn't waste any time. He didn't care about what had Lampard done, being one of the arguably the greatest player in the history of Chelsea. He didn't care. So he just did what he had to do. He was cutthroat, and it paid dividends in the end, because they go on and they win another Champions League, and he does exactly what he was supposed to do. And you look at Chelsea now, and you could argue since Conte kind of left, they didn't look threatening. They weren't ever really that threatening. After Conte, you were thinking to yourself, okay, they might be there or thereabouts. They might push up until Christmas. But if you look at Chelsea now, they're a far more complete package. They've quality all over the pitch. They've got quality on the bench. They've got the resources to bring in anyone. Like, they were chasing Haaland all summer, and they were literally going to pay wherever it took to get him, but he just wasn't available. So they're operating on that level. And we're trying to get back to the level that we were, where we were in a single season, one of the best Premier League teams ever in a single season, with the spine of that team that we had in there in 1920 as one of the best title wins ever. We fall apart last year due to injuries, but we're trying to get back to that now. So this is a real grudge match tomorrow. It's a proper rivalry, and I don't think there's not much love lost between Klopp and Tuchel. I know Tuchel takes over at Dortmund from Klopp, but you're looking at two elite coaches, two elite starting 11s, two teams unbeaten in the league. And what neither of us have failed to mention so far was that whoever wins tomorrow, everyone else is chasing from the get-go, because City have already dropped points and Manchester United have already dropped points. So tomorrow is crucial. Even though it's game week 3, it's crucial, because like Dammy says, you're setting the tone. It's a 38-game season, but you're setting the tone early doors. So whoever wins tomorrow, they're leading the pack. And just from the kickoff straight away, because you didn't expect City to drop points in their opening 2 or 3 games. You didn't expect United, but they already have. So it's an opportunity tomorrow for either or to steal a match. And it just adds more into it. It just makes it that little bit more spicy.
Yeah, I agree, Shawnee. And it would be great to have Liverpool and Chelsea back as kind of with that. There was rivalry, there was anger there, no doubt about it. And there was genuine as well respect. You know what I mean? When you today's a Gerrard, Lampard, Terry, Carragher all kind of going at it, Benitez and Mourinho, there was respect as well there. You know what I mean? At the highest level. And as you said, it's 2 elite coaches, 2 elite starting a level. This is at the highest scale, no doubt about it, going into tomorrow. And one that, look, we're all looking forward to. And as I said, this is one where Liverpool fans back them to win it. Chelsea fans back them to win it. And it is time to lay a marker. I mean, if Chelsea come to Anfield, we're talking about the 600 win. I think they've had 7 wins at Anfield. I think United have had the most at Anfield in the Premier League era, and then Chelsea are next. So there's a lot of reasons for Chelsea to be confident. But then when you do look at it, as you said, like, it's been so long, Anfield, a big game now, everyone's craving. Yeah, absolutely.
Big boy football back.
Big boy football, and as you said, nature's healing as well. So it's all good all round, and it's live as life. It's a good time to be alive, witnessing all this. What's the starting 11 for tomorrow? For Chelsea, Dammy, what do you think? What's an score prediction?
Starting 11, that is interesting.
It's gonna be a tough one, I know, to call. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting because, like, it's difficult because obviously, goalkeeper Mendy, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
UEFA goalkeeper of the year, do you know, coming from, he's been quite solid for Chelsea since he's come in, no complaints whatsoever. So Mendy definitely goes in goal. I'm sure Jimmy can agree with me on that one. I'm thinking when it comes to that back line, I don't see a way that Rudiger doesn't sort of get in. Obviously, Trevor Chalobah, Chelsea player, you know, I'm coming from his last 2-3 games, they've been brilliant. You know what I'm saying? He's coming, excellent movements all around, but I don't feel like this is the sort of game to bring him into. Not because I don't feel like he's good enough, but the sort of pressure, like I said, you've got to set the tone early. Tuchel knows this, the players know this, the board knew this, everybody at Chelsea knows this, even the fans knew this. So I'm not expecting Trevor to sort of get into that. So I'm expecting like a Rudiger to start on there. Aspilicueta on the right-hand side to flank the middleman is obviously expected because, like I said, Reece James is quite solid defensively, but I don't feel like I feel like sometimes you could potentially get caught up by whoever is on the left-hand side for Liverpool attacking that right Chelsea side. So Aspi right behind him would give us some reassurance going backwards. in the middle, that's where things sort of I'm a bit conflicted because Christensen has actually been quite good. You know what I mean? Christensen has been quite good. Historically, I've never been the biggest fan of Christensen, but obviously this season and the last season as well, it was quite instrumental. He's the one that came on during that UCL sort of win as well, and like he's been quite good. But Thiago Silva just brings you a lot more confidence. He brings you a lot more swagger, a lot more cadence to your backline. It allows you to get some interesting passes into the midfield and into the attack that Christensen doesn't provide.
And Rudiger seems to be very transformed, doesn't he? Under Tuchel, since Tuchel's come in, Rudiger is very composed, compact there as a centre back.
Back to his best.
Yeah, I mean, but exactly, back to his best. But it's the middle where I'm a bit conflicted. I might give it to Christensen just because that Liverpool front three is quite rapid. You know what I mean? You've got your Salahs of this world. You've got Jota could potentially play for a minute. They can all run, and I'm not really sure I want to put Thiago Silva in there, and he just gets like an unfortunate injury. So probably going to stick to Christensen. When it comes to the middle four, I think this one is more or less set in stone. Jorginho and Kante right in the middle. You know, I'm coming from Kovacic. I'm not really looking to see him against this Liverpool team just as of yet. Joel, Reece James on either flank, and then going forward, Big Rom up front, and then this is where things get interesting again. Jimmy, I need your help here, mate, because I really don't know. Do you know what I mean? Because like obviously you could have Mount and Havertz. Do you know what I'm saying? They could have their link up with the car or whatever, but you could also play Werner there to take advantage of that Liverpool high line. So I'm a bit conflicted on this one. Do you have any thoughts?
I'm like you say, you just don't know. But I think me personally, I give the nod to Werner. We will need to soak up a lot of the ball this time, and I do think Tuchel, while it's a big game and that, I do think he will be looking at this as he alluded to it in his pre-match press conference today that going to Anfield and playing against a full crowd of Liverpool supporters is one of the most difficult tasks in football. So I do think he is wary of the threat that Liverpool will pose going forward. So I do think Werner, while Havertz is obviously great in transition, Werner is just such a lightning. He's real speed merchant on the break, and I do think he's going to rely on that to kind of counter attack, exploit the Liverpool high line and whatnot. Yeah. So that's why I just would give him the nod alongside Lukaku as well, and use the passing ability of Mount and Jorginho to kind of like play a quick ball through the lines and catch Liverpool out. That's a game plan that obviously we can maybe look at, but.
Yeah, and I just saying there, I should have probably said at the start of the show, I know Tuchel, Klopp have came head-to-head a lot. Klopp has won 9 out of 15 encounters with them. But look, that means nothing going into this game because, as I said, the start of a new season.
Would you believe that Klopp is the manager that Tuchel has faced more than anyone else in his career?
Yeah, so that
they know each other's games inside and out.
Yeah, that's true. And look, we're saying all this more hyping it up, and it could well be something like a draw or 0-0. Hope not, you know what I mean, and cancel each other out. And it could be, it's more than capable of that happening as well, innit? Shawnee, that obviously like the lads there have touched on some of the Chelsea talking points about starting and who comes in, who doesn't. What about Liverpool? Because there's talk. Tsimikas comes in, I think does really well. I think the problem with Tsimikas is because he's up arguably against probably the best left full in world football at the moment, and he's proven that. And Robertson, how does he get in there? How does he get game time? So when he was given that game time, it was important that he showed what he was made of and what he could do. There was times of it where he was a little bit, and he's going to be a bit sceptical, no doubt about it. High pressure games, everything's on him. But then there was also times where he was really, really good, and he's over free kicks, he's over corners, he's a great left peg at assisting in there. He actually did assist a goal as well. There's not too many. I don't think of an argument around who starts for Liverpool, and I don't think Liverpool need much of a team talk going into this, where, as we said, at home, and the lads touched on, Anfield is a hard place to go to. What team are you going with tomorrow? If you Klopp tomorrow, and you've the floor now to who you're going to pick from 1 to 11?
Yeah, there is a couple of key points because there's been players performing when others have been out, but for me, it's got to be Alisson in goal, obviously, and left back I'm going Robertson because. For me, there's a difference between the very good and the absolute elite. And the absolute elite, those fine margins is what makes the difference in these big games. Because, like you said, Tsimikas, he has done well, he has performed admirably, but it's different playing away to Norwich and at home to Burnley than playing a big game against Chelsea, where it's literally a game of chess. Because that's what these big games are. It's who blinks first and who makes the first mistake most of the time. So I'd go Robertson on the left, that I have Van Dijk in beside him, Matip and Trent. That's the standard back five for Liverpool. And in the middle, I'd put Fabinho back in there because I think for us, him mopping up second balls, and he will be key as well in that battle with Lukaku because he has to be there to pick up the scraps. So I'd definitely have him in there. And then I'd have Henderson on the right side, and I'd go with Thiago in this game because, again, I think ball retention is huge in these type of games. And Thiago was a player who was played at the highest level of games across his whole career. We know he can do it. He showed some brilliant shades to the back end of last season's. Obviously, he come back in after an injury and he was playing here, there, and everywhere. But I'd be going with Thiago. Like, I agree with Dammy what he said about Chalobah. He's been very good since he come in. But again, Harvey Elliott is very unlucky to miss out because he's brilliant against Burnley. He shows all these lovely flashes and touches, but you need to know you can trust your men in there in these big games. And those little lapses of concentration and giving away the ball, we can't afford it tomorrow because you get punished. You get punished at this level, Darren. Because like I said again, this is big boy football tomorrow. There's no room for error, no room for mistakes. So I'd have the Thiago, Fab, Hendo midfield trio, and then I'm going Mane on the left, I'm going Bobby through the middle, and I'm going Salah on the right. And Bobby through the middle again is for pure reasons of ball retention, keeping the ball. He's able to do that press. Jota is a lethal finisher, but I feel that with Mane and Salah on either side, you have enough of a goal threat there. Bobby is going to be key to disrupting Chelsea's rhythm and play in the midfield because that's what he does. Bobby is a disruptor. That's what he's always done. People hold it against him that he's not a classic number 9 and doesn't get 20, 30 goals a season. That's not actually his role in the team. Bobby is a disruptor. He's the key to our press. He sets everything off. He creates spaces for other lads on each side. This is why the lads have been so prolific under Klopp because they have a Firmino who occupies centre halves, and he just makes centre halves have to make that decision. Should I stay or do I go? Whereas Jota is more off the shoulder. Jota is more on the show. He's more of a classic forward. Jota is more in the mold of a Werner, if you get me. He plays on the shoulder. He likes to get in behind. So that's what I'm going with. It's the tried and trusted big team, big game Liverpool 11.
Yeah, good. Well summed up, Shani. Couldn't have summed it up better myself. I agree. It's probably the team I'd go with. I was 50-50 with Jota, Firmino, but I can understand now after your talk, it's like a team talk actually, that would probably opt for Firmino in there than Jota. But yeah, absolutely. And he's a big game player and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. And people, I think sometimes it's all about experience and knowledge when it comes to analysing football. And some people just think he doesn't get the goals and that's it. And he's there. We need an out-and-out goal scorer. But you have to look at what he does. And I remember seeing something before that Bobby's actually, he is the system. He's not a part of it. He is. And that's one way of summing it up. And he's just unbelievable at getting back ball retention. And he will get goals as well. But he's not that cutthroat number 9 that he's associated with, like a Lewandowski, a Kane, or a Lukaku or anyone like that. Because his role is different. And it is just as you perfectly summed it up there. What's the score predictions we going for tomorrow, lads? I'll go with you then, Sean, and then on to Dammy and Jimmy. I know these are hard to do. We're talking about it could be a 0-0, it mightn't be, it could be any kind of score. It's very, very hard to say. We're just basically going off what we think at the moment. Come before kick-off tomorrow, and it could change. You just don't know in football. It is a funny old game. What would you go for, Shawnee?
See, I think it's going to be a case of neither team wanting to lose. I think that's what's going to be big here tomorrow because it's a marathon, not a sprint. And even though there is an opportunity to pull away there, there's sort of a cushion on this game for both teams because City have already dropped points and so have United. So I think tomorrow's going to be 1-1. I think it's going to be a cagey 1-1. And I know the listeners and the people that don't want to hear that, but I think it could be a cagey 1-1 tomorrow because these big games normally get the big hype and the big build-up and they very rarely deliver. So I'm going 1-1 tomorrow.
Yeah, and I understand a bit of a marathon or a sprint, and sometimes I'm probably a bit in defence about it, Shawnee. You kind of just say it as it is. I'm a bit in between because I sometimes think it is a sprint and not a marathon, and the reason being is because there's no room for error, there's no slip up. I think there'll definitely be 4, I would imagine, in my opinion, 4 title contenders this season. I don't put Leicester in that, or Spurs, or Arsenal, any of them, or Everton. I put definitely Chelsea, Liverpool, City and United in that, and I think there's not going to be much between them. And I think at the back end of last season, we all probably felt that going into this season, it was going to be a lot tighter than it was last season. Like last season, City won by what was in the end 17 points. We only finished 5 behind United, and at one stage they were well ahead of us, and we weren't even getting 4th, and we got 3rd. It just turned out to be mad in the end. I suppose having fans back for those last 2 or 3 games just kind of made that a little bit stranger and different. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what to make. Sometimes then I'm like, no, it is a marathon. It's not a sprint, because obviously then you look at we're only into the second week. City are down already 3 points. United have lost 2. Dammy, what's your prediction for tomorrow, and what's your thing of, is it a sprint, is it a marathon, or is it a sprint or a marathon?
I mean, if you can run run as fast as you can for as long as you can. Do you know what I mean? So It's a combination of both. But it's a marathon. Definitely, it's a marathon. It's all about keeping up that momentum. You know what I'm saying? You make sure you don't falter, you don't trip on your leases, nothing along those lines. In terms of the score line, I genuinely feel like this game is going to be so back and forth for the first 60 or so minutes. But I think Chelsea are going to win this one because of how much depth and quality we actually do have on the bench. That's my reason behind it. I feel like Chelsea could potentially score first, Liverpool score again. I feel like Chelsea will win by at least a 1-goal margin, just because we have that quality to solve. Like, our bench is like, we could literally, the score could be 1-0, and then we could just decide to bring on Havertz. I don't know, Havertz, Chilwell, and God knows me. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? We've got so much quality on the bench. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be quite an interesting game. But I think just because of that, okay, I think we're going to beat Liverpool tomorrow by at least 1 goal.
Yeah, okay. And Jimmy, what do you think? You're obviously advocating for Chelsea as well to win. What's your score prediction and why?
It's really a coin toss for me. It could come down to something trivial, like a referee decision, something small, like, just a howler by one of the defenders. You wouldn't know. I do think, just going back on to what Dammy's saying, our bench is ridiculously strong. There's so many options. If one tactic is not working, we do have the opportunity to change it up. He could bring on Werner, he could bring on a Ziyech, he could bring on a Havertz, whatever, depends who he goes with from the start. But in saying that, I do think it's 1-1 is what I'm going to go with. Right. I'm going an early Liverpool goal. They're going to come out early. They're going to set the tone. The fans will get behind their back. They'll squeeze Chelsea. They might get a goal and say maybe Salah. And then second half, I'm banking on Lukaku. 1-1 to silence the cop.
Okay, yeah. It's all controversy, and it's only all our opinions. A bit of humour, isn't it? My own opinion, I think. Look, Anfield, as I said, and I've been there loads of times, big games, and Liverpool have always had this knack to turn up in big games. I've went to some of them. I remember there was a year, it was actually very young I was at the time, and we'd won. We were going for the Champions League in 2005, and we'd lost at Birmingham, we'd lost at Palace, we were off, and then we obviously came out and beat Chelsea, and I was kind of saying, how did that happen? You know what I mean? And I didn't have the knowledge or insight as to what I'd have now, and it was just always, I've learned that, a big atmosphere can sometimes, and what I think Liverpool's biggest strength over the rest of the teams is, I don't think it's quality and depth, but what I think we've always had, and particularly over City in that year where we won the league, was that unity, that togetherness, that never give up. We showed that, and I know the fans, and we are so emotional. I think Klopp is very emotional, and that he implements that into the players, and you see by some of the players that he signs, like he makes superstars, doesn't buy superstars, and just how they all convert together and that emotion they have. And I think sometimes that's underestimated, and I've brought this up in a couple of streams, but without boring his lad, sorry. You look at the Euros, Switzerland are down 3-1 against France, there's 9 minutes to go. That unity, the togetherness, France hyped up, full of strength and depth, never should have lost it. It goes to 3-3, then it goes to extra time. They hold out, unbelievable, and then goes to penalties, and they just see the game through. And sometimes I think the mental side of it and that unity and togetherness is sometimes overlooked by the technical ability, and I think you have to have just as much as that as you do technically. Just my own opinion, I don't know whether you agree, lads, but I think tomorrow, I'm going to go for Liverpool, as I said, and I agree with all your opinions, lads, and thanks for giving them, by the way. I just think 2-1 is just something I've thought. We've the last 3 seasons, we've won our first 3 games, and I think I'm going to go for 4 where we win the 3. But the question for me is, will we be able to stick the pace? Because I think Chelsea, as you just mentioned, strength and depth. They've a lot more than us in depth and in going forward throughout the season. That could be a factor. And I don't think if Chelsea do lose tomorrow, if Liverpool lose tomorrow, it's the end of it. And particularly if Chelsea lose, I don't think they're over by any means, stretch the imagination. Just a quick one, lads, before we go. Dammy, if you have to go there now, you can. If you need to go, you can go. Or do you want to? I was just going to touch on transfers about just a small bit. Are you happy if Tuesday 31st deadline? Are you happy with the transfers? Yeah, these have done. Don't need anyone else.
I mean, we've got the meat, we've got the steak. We needed the main part of the meal. We've got that lined up. You know what I mean, Romelu Lukaku, proper out and out forward with no disrespect to Timo Werner. We've sorted that out. Now we need to get the little things that you garnish the plate with. You know what I mean? The beautiful mashed potatoes. You know, we've got to get the extra bits and bobs in and around the place.
Seasoning.
So a solid midfielder. Yeah, do you know what I mean? The proper seasoning and everything. We've got to get that. Got to get the pint as well to finish off the whole meal. Now we need to get a midfielder. Unfortunately, as far as I'm aware now, I've just been told that Saul to Chelsea, that's completely dead in the water. That's not going to happen anymore. Yeah. So we've got to look at the likes maybe like a Declan Rice or a Chouameni from Monaco. Koundé is on a flight from Sevilla all the way to Chelsea right now. So that's probably been done and dusted. Good so we've got a centre back sorted out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, quite a solid signing. Zuma is going to be going to West Ham. Obviously, we sold Mark Guehi as well. That's a bit of money there. It's funny, all our transactions this season, and we're still in profit. That's ridiculous. We spent almost £150 million and we are still in profit. That shows to go how well structured Chelsea and how well run Chelsea is as a football club. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So got that sorted out, and then we just need a midfield. I think that midfielder signing and the centre back signing would just make this window 10 out of 10. Lukaku on his own makes it 7 because we needed a big, proper, competent striker, which we have gotten. But now those extra 2 just literally cherries on top of the cake. So if we finish those off, I mean, I'm already satisfied, but I'd be over the moon with those 2 signings completed as well.
Well, why settle? If you can go for a 10 out of 10, Dammy, you're right to aim, you know, and be satisfied and get the point, the season beside it, and the 2 pick. I always need a 2 pick, and anyway, especially when I have steak, you know. So, Jimmy, what's your what's your view so far in the transfer? Are you similar to Dammy, or are you a bit more controversial?
Nah, I'm really happy with this transfers that we've had so far. Lukaku is exactly what we needed. Like, it seems to, like, I'm a bit cagey about Koundé, you know. I'd always like with the wealth of attacking options we have, Koundé to me, like, he's the same height as Azpilicueta. I'm not sure if you can really put him in the middle of a back 4. I think maybe will that make it mean that we'd have to stick with a back 3 and then play with wings backs as well? So I don't know. Midfield it's a really hard, like, obviously with Sahul is dead in the water now, it's just a really hard sell to get to attract kind of a midfielder into that role. Like, you've got Kante, Jorginho, the 2 players nominated for Men's Player of the Year in UEFA, and then Kovacic is obviously a great player too. So you're looking at attracting someone into play 4th choice in central midfield. You know, it's just not something that young players want to do. Conor Gallagher and Billy Gilmore went out on loan because of that. They didn't want to be that player. But you're looking around the squad, you do have the likes of Chalobah. He can fill in there. He's played midfield in previous clubs before when out on loan. And even Reece James, he's played in that position as well. So I don't think I'd be happy with what we've got. I don't know if we really need another player, but obviously take what you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that sums up a good assessment on the transfer so far for Chelsea. I think it's been good business for me, and it could be still more to go. I know there's 4 or 5 days to go. Shawnee, I'm gonna like your take on this one because I've heard you a bit over the summer on Liverpool's, and I think your stance is still clear. What do you think of Liverpool's transfer so far? I was on to you a couple of months ago. Me and you had a podcast on your journey as a fan. It was very interesting, and thanks for that again, pal. We were obviously signed Kanate. We were all happy. He's 22, very experienced for 22-year-old. Only turned 22, so he's still another Premier League season to go until he actually turns 23. Potentially going to be world class in the future. That's all we've done. We know a couple will probably still even leave now before Tuesday's deadline. Are you happy with the business you've done? Because I'm in WhatsApp groups, I'm talking to people, and they're not, a lot of them aren't, but there are a couple of people that are experienced, know the whole ins and outs of transfers, know the whole admin side of it, know that it's not like FIFA or Pro Evolution that you go out and sign someone. What's your take on Liverpool's transfer so far this window?
I think we struggled, Darren. I think we struggled to get rid of the deadwood, and I think that's inhibited us because unlike Chelsea and City, we don't have an unlimited pool of money to just dip into. We can't afford to leave Origi out of squad on 60, 70 grand a week. That's just not how the club operates. But for sure, we need another midfielder in. And I do think we will end up getting Basuma before the window closes. I think he is someone you can bring in who can supplement that midfield perfectly. And as a direct replacement for Gini Wijnaldum, because I really like him as a player. He's technically brilliant. He's really robust. He can get around the pitch. He has it all in the locker. And I think he'd be a smart signing now at this stage because the way I see it is I'm surprised he hasn't gone anywhere else, because I'm sure Bissouma will be a great player for someone like Chelsea or Arsenal or even Manchester United, who are bringing back Ronaldo, despite the fact that they still need centre midfielders. And I do believe, if it was possible, that we do need someone to supplement the wide players, or both Mane and Salah, because they're going to be missing games during the AFCON. Now, I know it's only 2 games.
If they don't get to the final,
2 league games, 2 league games. Now, even if they get to the final, they'll only miss 2 league games, because it falls in a stage where there's FA Cup games, but still, we need somebody to go in there, because the drop off of quality after Salah and Mane is quite substantial. It's not like for example, if Chelsea had to rule out Werner tomorrow, they could throw Havertz in. If Havertz and Werner were out, they can throw Ziyech in. You know what I mean? I think Pulisic might be missing, but he's even an option there. So that's the level of depth that we should be aspiring to. So I do think we definitely need at least one more, and I'll be disappointed if we don't get the business done, Darren, because we left ourselves short last year and we paid the price for it, because we ended up in January playing with two first choice centre mids playing at centre half, and I don't think it's a risk that we can afford to take again, because we were so close to dropping out of the top 4 last year, and we just pulled it out of fire by the skin of our teeth. So I think we will do at least one more. I think we will look at getting a midfielder.
And do you think if we were to get one more in and not the 2, we could still be serious challengers? Or do you think that's going to have an impact? Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay,
we're regarding a bit of luck with injuries, I think with that point, with Van Dijk, Alisson, and Matip in your team, with Fabinho in the axis there in the anchor midfield, you're not going to lose too many games of football. You only have to look at the record when they've started together. Van Dijk has never lost a Premier League game at Anfield.
48 games, Liverpool won 43 with him, and
he's never lost a Premier League game at Anfield, and I'm not worried about what might or might not happen tomorrow, because
you need him fit.
There's different levels. Lukaku is the one who has to prove himself tomorrow, not Van Dijk.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, no, I do agree on that. And I think, look, anyone, how boyish you are or whatever, I think that's a fair point, because obviously we've mentioned the record of 45 games. Right, lads, it was a pleasure to have you on. Anyone that's obviously, Shawnee, I'm sure a couple of the viewers, if he's not watching live now, will look back on it, just be a regular on the LFC Day Trippers on a Sunday. I just know now Shawnee is on, sometimes maybe midweek once.
Yeah, when I can, but
10 o'clock, tune in. It's very good, and the lads are great with Gav and Keith and Grace on with them. Dammy, thanks for coming on. Debut, I just reached out to you and you come on, so I love the support and the help and coming on. I wanted to get a Chelsea fan on. It was great to get you on. Ryan Connolly there just jumping in the comments. Another one of the lads, me and Jimmy now. Viva Ronaldo, come on United. Craig Duff. Shout out as well to everybody in the comments that did come in. Laser, they have LFC chats as well. Go over and like and subscribe to all the pages. The lads are doing regular YouTube content, and thanks for obviously supporting the channel and coming in and dropping by. Dammy, thanks for coming on. I'll go back to you, bro. Appreciate your views and opinions on it, and hopefully you do get to the game tomorrow.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Pleasure to get you on, mate, and hopefully if we ever knock heads again down the road, Liverpool and Chelsea, and it's a match as big as this, I can get you on and you'll accept it. Thanks, pal. And Jimmy, thanks for coming on to your debut. I'll definitely get you on more. It could be, as we did mention, Liverpool, Chelsea, could be more games. There's a League Cup, there's an FA Cup, Champions League. Obviously, there could be big games in the near future, hopefully. But lads, we'll wrap it up then. That's a wrap. Enjoy the rest of the Friday evening. It's lovely outside now. I'm gonna go out and go for the holiday look, and all yous enjoy. Have a good evening, lads. Thanks for coming on. A big
enjoy the game, lads.
Take care. Thanks.
Nice one, lads. Take it easy.
Lads. Thanks.